Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
You can see a big difference from first half to second half just because we had guys grow up because they'd never played. They hadn't been on the field yet. And so you could see a big difference, and that happened a lot quicker than it normally would during the season because they were seniors, not sophomores.
Cool that we were last week, and we got to be physical all game. We can't just be physical in the first half, physical in the second half. We got to be more physical than them, and we got to be smarter than them because their offense is designed to confuse you, especially at linebacker. So we just got to be smart and trust our reads and just play with our heads on fire.
But just seeing how new coaching arrangements and having new coaches come in, how it changes cultures, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad. But with me being here last year, I've been able to know a lot of these kids, and them knowing that I'm still here. I'm still here with them. I'm still here to support them. I think that's a huge thing in the success that we've had already.
Just felt like they kind of dominated that stretch of the game, and if we respond better to being tired and fight through it and execute just a little bit better here and there, it's probably our game to win. So, we gave ourselves a chance and we just didn't finish the job.
Multiple, really do a nice job running the football. They've got a kind of a wide zone or stretch run game and some counter that is really effective, really good guys up front, a number of backs that can sprinkle in, and then very, very dynamic at the wide receiver position. Guys that can hit home runs, whether it's through the vertical passing game or jet sweeps or just getting the ball out in space. They do a lot of things. It's going to be a big challenge for us.
It is first and goal. The snap to Josh. Looks to throw. Fires. Caught by Isaiah McKenzie. Fights his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Buffalo. Josh Allen threw a fastball right into the midsection of Isaiah McKenzie for the 7-yard touchdown strike.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Day. I am with Mike Corson being here. I will be Hesh, and he is Mike Corson as we bring you Sports Day on our Friday. Webby is out of the office this afternoon, so we'll try to get through this with you. Those were the sounds of the past 24 hours, and we'll get to those right away. We're going to rearrange things a little bit with Webby Khan. First, you heard from Tony Crow, the head coach of the Hayes High Indians, as they have a lot of inexperienced seniors, as he calls them. Then we heard from Mater. Do you know the first name of the young Mater kid that was here for?
Matthew.
Matthew Mater, and it is Mater, correct?
Correct.
All right. I know that's a tough one. He was talking about how Great Bend needs to come out and play with Fryer on Friday tonight as they take on the Hayes High Indians. The Indians were a big winner over Junction City, and Great Bend 0-1 after losing to McPherson. Then you heard from Zach Baird. No, excuse me. Then you heard from Brett Stint from the Ellenwood Eagles, as the Eagles are off to a 1-0 start, and they take on Belle Plaine tonight with a chance to go 2-0. And I believe I read it's been a while since Ellenwood has been 2-0. I'm not sure on the exact number on that one. Then we heard from Zach Baird. He is the head coach of the Hoisington Cardinals. Cardinals were losers last week to Heston, and they will be in action tonight as they take on Halstead, I believe it is. And then we heard from Chris Kleiman, the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats, as they take on former Big 12 opponent Missouri in a matchup tomorrow, and always looking forward to that one. And then last night, Webby's comment here is, and we'll have a discussion because we know Mike Horson is a Josh Allen fan, if you did not know that. The Buffalo Bills got an impressive win last night, 31-10 over the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Was that the Buffalo Bills' signature win they've been looking for?
I don't even know why we're going to have the rest of the season.
It's over.
It's Overreaction Friday. They're picked to win the Super Bowl. They dominated the Super Bowl champs. What more do you want?
Well, maybe to do it for another 16 weeks. It might be something
It is a long season. It was hot.
Yes.
And they actually thought that would affect the Bills, but we'll see.
And, is it the case of the Super Bowl hangover? I mean,
there is legit talk that the Rams might not make the playoffs. They didn't look terrible, but the Bills have the supercharged offense, and now they've got a pretty good defense, it looks like. I really thought if they don't turn the ball over a couple times, it's more than 3 touchdowns.
Really? I didn't watch it all. I made it through about the first half, and that was about it. That's all I could do.
But we call me a Josh Allen fan. I like Wyoming. I like those Bills uniforms, and he just happens to be the quarterback.
Okay, you're a Wyoming fan. You don't hear a lot of Cowboy fans. Why are you a Wyoming fan?
If you've ever been out there, it's fun times. Yellowstone.
Yes.
And then they've got that cool cowboy on their helmets.
Okay.
And they got a bison on their state flag.
Okay, you can't go wrong there, can you? Okay, so a little bit talking. Now we'll talk about some of the other things in the sounds of the last 24 hours. Great Bend and Hayes tonight. You were one of the few people around the area that got to see Hayes last week. They had an impressive win over Junction City. What's your take on tonight?
Well, and it's Tony Crow was my RA in college, and then he
he really?
He was the coach here, so a little bit of history with Coach Crow. Really, one of the touchdowns they gave up to Junction was a deflected pass, and the Junction kid happened to be in the right spot, and he did talk after the game about putting in an extra linebacker. So I'm very optimistic with the 27 points Great Bend put up against McPherson, but it will be a good test because Hayes did perform well last week. And then on the other side, I think if Great Bend can stop the quarterback and the running back, Malik Baugh, should be a really good game. I actually expect it to be pretty close.
Do you really? Okay, well, that's good for the Great Bend people, obviously.
Yeah, and it's always been a big rivalry. I know Great Bend struggled recently, but I feel we're on the cusp. And you never want to throw out bulletin board stuff, but Hayes is maybe beatable.
Okay. And I'm the Hesh, as you know, with Mike and Mike. I don't particularly care for Mike and Mike. That's been used. So he's Mike Horse and I'm Hesh. So Mike Hesher, and we're coming to you from the Mayo Money Management Studio. This is Sports Day, and we were supposed to be joined this afternoon by Shannon from Eagle Country, but she has a young toddler. Actually, I don't know if he's not a toddler yet, is he? He's 4 or 5 months old, so I don't think that's quite a toddler. He wasn't acting very well this morning, so she thought it'd be best if she stayed home. So we are missing Shannon. Hopefully she will join us in the future.
And we'd have to come up with some creative name. Let's just keep it.
Okay. Right. And I'm really looking forward when Becca comes over because Becca is a Raiders fan. So that ought to be interesting when the Chiefs and Raiders get together.
We better get her in the first 2 weeks of the season while she still has hope.
Okay, wow. You're gonna be harsh on the Raiders.
Yeah, after we say how competitive that division is.
And
we'll see.
Weren't you the one last week bragging on Derek Carr?
Oh, I say stuff out in the hallway that's for comic effect.
Okay. All right. Well, but you don't say that here.
That was my hot take before we started the show is Derek Carr, the greatest quarterback ever.
You like those hot takes, don't you?
I don't.
Well, you watch a lot of national.
We can get Skip Bayless on for those.
Oh no, we don't. I'm out if we ever have to go with Skip Bayless. And then K-State playing Missouri tomorrow. A lot of talk about that one. Some people are questioning, is Missouri that good because they have gone to the SEC, or has the SEC improved Missouri, I guess is the question.
I went out to the dumpster before I came in, and our line is K-State by 7.5.
Is it really?
So the money people like K-State. You just never hear much about Missouri, but I would have picked K-State anyway.
Yeah, you don't hear much about Missouri because obviously they're no longer in the Big 8/Big 12. I do listen to a station out of Kansas City a little bit, and obviously they talk about Missouri because it's in their listening area more. So
I'm ready to turn Adrian Martinez loose and Deuce loose, and the biggest part, nationally televised game finally.
Really? Okay,
ESPN 2 at 11 o'clock.
Well, I don't get ESPN, so I guess I won't watch it. And then coming up on the show, we will talk to Chet Kuplan. He is a guru of high school football across the state of Kansas. You have Panther, Mike Horse, and Panther on the prowl, and you're talking to?
We've got...
Oh, there's a dead look in his face. That's not good.
Great Bend tennis today.
Oh, okay.
So tonight, we're going to be about 12 hours away from football weather.
Right.
Tennis is going to have to face that tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was supposed to come in. The weather's supposed to change a little bit after midnight, right? Or something of that nature.
Right around there. For a while, it was looking like it was going to rain, but now they're kind of saying maybe not. But
really?
It's still going to be cool.
Okay. And then it's on our sister station 106.9 tomorrow, KU West Virginia. Any thoughts on that contest?
And I was shocked, again, talking to our trash keeper back there. They got West Virginia by 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
So here's a chance for KU. They coming off 56 points. Show that you are a legitimate team now.
Yeah, competitive. I think they have to get competitive before you can consider them legitimate. I don't know. That's maybe parsing hairs a little bit, but they got to get competitive first.
I like what they did last year. I mean, they've been bad, and at least they were competitive last year. So, given the fact that I didn't think West Virginia was supposed to be exceptional, I'm not sure West Virginia's going to beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, some headlines from this morning, and I got one, and I'm going to say it because Webby is not here. I went to the Premier League website to get some standings for this morning, right?
Oh, man.
So we could talk about it. Well, and we're going to really make him mad because we're going to talk about the Queen as well. The Premier League, which is based in England, they have postponed their matches this weekend because of the Queen's death. So there will be no Premier League action this weekend.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, United States kind of did that after John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 63.
I even remember I was a government employee when Gerald Ford died and we got the day off.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just to update those standings in the Premier League since they're not playing, I've just kind of tweaked Webby a little bit. Arsenal's top of the load. Man City, Tottenham, Brighton, and Man United are the top 5 in the Premier League. I talked to Buddy Tabler. He's back. He's in Larned. And we got to visit with him a little bit. He has a wealth of knowledge on several things. We'll talk a little bit about Larned football with him, and he also kind of gets into K-State and KU because he's pretty well versed. He did say Pratt was legit because Pratt beat Larned 67-0, and he said Pratt's looking pretty good.
They've been good in the past, struggled the last couple of years, so it wouldn't surprise me, but I need more than
beating Larned?
Yeah,
is that what you're
I
trying
need a
to
couple
say?
more. We usually start to look at those things at week 3 and determine maybe we can get a picture here.
Well, Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College, and get ahead with online or dual credit classes at Barton Community College. Earn a certificate or associate degree while you're still in high school. Learn more at gobarton.com. We'll be back and talk with Chet Kuplan, as we talk high school football across the state of Kansas with the guru from Sports in Kansas.
One of the great advantages about online classes is you can take them anywhere. I would sit in my room, still in my robe from waking up, and I just try to focus on my classes. From Barton, I kind of took a range of classes from accounting, history, and I took PE1 and PE2 through Barton. They transferred pretty incredible. It helped save money, and it helped save some time, too. Just to think that you can live really anywhere and take these classes, I think it's pretty cool.
If you're not filling with Cenex Premium Diesel, then you're not giving your fuel system the premium treatment. Cenex Roadmaster XL comes with a more complete additive package for a more complete burn, while restoring your power by up to 4.5% and your fuel economy by up to 5%. Typical number 2 diesel? I guess it covers the basics. Cenex Premium Diesel. Diesel that doesn't mess around.
Contact the Great Bend Co-op Fuel Department, your certified Cenex distributor today.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, or weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing.
I don't have any cravings.
You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Only $49.99 guaranteed. Because don't just cut down, but stop smoking. In addition, lose all the weight, 100% guaranteed with Mark Patrick Seminars. Let hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings and lose the weight. That's right. Seminar Sunday, September 25th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Great Bend. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before seminar. Info at markpatrickseminars.com.
And welcome back to Sports Day. I'm Mike Hesher. We're joined now by the guru of Kansas football. That is Chet Kuplan. He owns Sports in Kansas, and you can go to sportsinks.com. That's Chet Kuplan. And Chet, thank you for joining us on Sports Day this week.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Always appreciate being on the show, and your intro music had me wanting to run through a brick wall and play some football, but I'm a little out of shape and now, so I'm not up to that, but ready for, of course, week 2 of high school football. Some craziness across the state in week number 1. Of course, we can't judge teams off of that early. It's a long season. Districts aren't here yet, 3A and below, and, of course, 4, 5, 6A. No districts there, but I think we figured out a little bit about some teams, or did we? Because it's always a wild week number 2 because teams improve so much for the course of the season, especially from weeks 1 to weeks 2. A lot of teams starting starters for the first time ever last week, and on top of that, some injuries, things like that across the state, some ranked matchups. So I don't always put a lot of stock into week number 1, but we do figure out a little. I just don't want to judge a team too much off of week number 1.
That's right, and I always say that the biggest growth for teams is between week 1 and week 2. But, you did talk a little bit about 4A, number 1 team in 4A, St. James. They lost to a good team because I liked your Twitter is what I'm trying to get to. There was a tweet that you guys had out about there were a couple top teams in the state that lost, but who they lost to has a lot to do with why they lost.
Yeah, St. James Academy, of course, they dropped some spots in some of the rankings, not by me necessarily, because you could really interchange the top 3 teams in Class 4A, whether that be Miege, Aquinas, or St. James Academy, all on the East, all in the same leagues, all parochial private schools over there. Of course, St. James Academy has won back-to-back titles in Class 4A since coming down from 5A a few years back. Aquinas, who won a recent title a few years back in 5A, they're in 4A for the first time ever. And then, of course, Bishop Miege, prior to St. James Academy, they won, 5 or 6 in a row, something like that. The crazy thing is, you mentioned with St. James Academy, they lost to the 6A defending state champion, the number 1 team this week in 6A after Derby losing Blue Valley Northwest 35-21. They're breaking in a new quarterback at St. James Academy. Their all-state quarterback transferred to a school down in Louisiana because guess what? His dad is a defensive coordinator for LSU down there in Jackson House. So you look at St. James Academy at Blue Valley this week. They play a battle-tested schedule. But still, a lot of really, really good teams across Class 4A. And, of course, all the classes. There's a lot of parity, it feels like, this year more than ever, specifically in Class 4A, because there for a while, when I started my company, it seemed like Class 4A was always the same teams, and that same team was Bishop Miege every single year. Now I feel like we got 4 or 5 teams in the mix in Class 4A, so can't count a team out just because of week 1 loss, specifically those teams that lost to ranked opponents.
And the other big loss was, and maybe not important, but 2A Rossville had won they were defending 2-time state champions, and they lost to St. Mary's, who was ranked number 1 in Class 1A. So, they did lose, but, they lost to a good team.
Yeah, and 1A's expanded this year, so it's not the old look 1A with just 29, 30 teams, whatever it is. It's expanded to more teams. So teams like St. Mary's that were 2A, even 3A years ago, have dropped down into that class for the first time ever. St. Mary's, a veteran team that returns Keller Hurlow, one of the top quarterbacks in the state. They beat Rossville 20-13 last week, ending Rossville's 26-game winning streak. Of course, Rossville had to replace 2-time Player of the Year, and of course, at the quarterback position, in steps another Horak who passed for 190 yards. So this is a team that's going to get better in Rossville, losing 7 points to the number 1 team, and of course, Class 1A. I don't really judge them off of that. They did lose a lot. They're still going to be very good. They're still going to be a team in Class 2A that we got to look at. They're at Riley County this week, a team, of course, I feel like is going to be pretty good as well, even though they opened up with a week 1 loss last week. So 2A football, 1A football, a lot of contenders in that classification.
And in Western Kansas, Great Bend did lose. Hayes won, and they meet up this week in Great Bend. What do you think about the Hayes Indians and the Great Bend Panthers matchup?
Well, you look at this, and honestly, I did not have Hayes winning this last week. I feel like Coach Crow does a really good job with this program. The reason why, the last 2 years, they graduated all kind of Division I talent on this team. Some big-name players, of course, Jaron Kanek, who's now on the 2 deep at Oklahoma. Of course, Gavin Hazelhorst 2 years ago, who starts at Fort Hays State after a year at Kansas State. They lost guys all over the place. And this is the team that won 33-21 over Junction City, a team that I thought, honestly, they'd be outmatched by. You look at Great Bend, they put up a fight. Coach Beck's bunch lost 44-27. So I feel like a pretty good McPherson team that likes to throw around the ball. Now, they obviously allowed a lot of yards. This should be a fairly even matchup. I think Hayes, probably the favorite on paper. But when you look at the Western Athletic Conference, Dodge and Garden opened up with week 1 wins, as did Hayes. Liberal and Great Bend are the only teams that lost. Now, Liberal's loss may be a little bit disappointing because they lost to a Class 3A opponent being a 5A team, but they're young. They got a new coach. I think this WAC is going to be competitive as always. Dodge City, Garden City, kind of question marks for me right now. Dodge got a big win over Wichita West, and Garden City under Coach Hill, always consistent. They beat Wichita Heights, and I think that was a surprise to many people last week, 36-26. Now, they'll be at Wichita North this week. So Western Athletic Conference, do we have a team in 5A, 6A that's going to go deep, that's going to make a run? Probably not, looking at it right now, just speaking honestly, but you never know. You get into those playoffs, you upset a few teams, maybe you put somebody deep into there. It's just that 6A, 5A is so extremely deep. But Hayes did surprise me 1 week ago. Should be a good matchup with the Great Bend, but I'm favoring Hayes in this one.
Okay, we're talking with Chet Kuplan. He is the founder of Sports in Kansas. Go to sportsinks.com, and you'll be overwhelmed with the amount of information that is provided. Chet, okay, we talked about a few teams. What about some individuals that impressed you this past week?
Well, the individual that obviously just jumps off the page is Avery Johnson. Of course, we talk about him all the time. He's the quarterback for Mays High. 4 stars, should be 5 stars, in my opinion, headed to Kansas State at the next level. There's not much this guy can't do. Grant Stubblefield looked great out of Blue Valley Northwest. He was our Sports in Kansas 6A basketball player of the year. And I think we're probably waiting on Dylan Edwards to have a huge season. They lost last week, though, Derby. The Panthers, lost to Manhattan. I don't think anybody was expecting that across the state. This is a Derby team that lost in the state championship. They did lose, of course, the majority of their offensive line, one of the best lines they've ever had. But they, have a 4-star guy going to Notre Dame as an athlete/running back. It's just a matter of breaking in that offensive line, breaking in the quarterback, getting that defense adjusted. I think the Derby Panthers are going to be fine. I think Dylan Edwards is going to be fine as well. So many really outstanding players across the state, but I got to take you through these numbers. An 8-man Division II, Axtell, the team who won the state championship, Isaac Detweiler was unbelievable in that game. He had 8 total touchdowns, 4 rushing, 4 passing. He was our 8-man 2 player of the year last year as a junior. Well, the number 2 team in the state, Canton Galva, jumps down just outside of the McPherson area to 8-man Division II this year. Of course, this is a team that played Little River, a team that fell in the title game last year. They blasted Little River 66-36 with their backup quarterback. Now, their backup quarterback is one of the best receivers in the state. His name's Jet Vincent. He is looking to set the state record for interceptions in a career. He played at Wheatland Grinnell High School last year in 8-man 2. His dad gets the principal job at Canton Galva. He transfers over. Garrett Maltby, the all-state quarterback for Canton Galva, injured, doesn't play in week 1. Jet Vincent steps in at quarterback, and all he did was rush for 349 yards. They had 595 yards of offense, and he had 10 touchdowns in his opener at the Canton Galva Eagles. So my players of the year in 8-man 2 last year, he was my defensive player of the year. He's going to make a battle with Detweiler for offensive player of the year if you could double up and get 2. I've never had that happen. Those 2 combined for 18 touchdowns last week alone. I mean, that sounds to me like a career. I don't think I ever had a touchdown. I was on the offensive line. So got to give a shout-out to those small school players out there. Regardless of what classification those 2 youngsters play in, I think they could play for a lot of schools. And 8-man 2, going to be a very, very tough division. 8-man 1, going to be a very, very tough division as well. But we'll have all kind of stuff all over the state on all the Sports in Kansas platforms powered by Watco, Mammoth Sports Construction, and Jock Snitch. A lot of content going on, whether it's from me, Connor Nickel, Bethany Bowman, you name it. Always enjoy being on your show. And, of course, Hoisington lost, last week, and a close one. That just gives you an idea, Heston, how much they've improved in the CKL. We talk about the rushing attack, a lot of that league, but Heston, they like to throw it all over the yard with Hudson Ferralis, their quarterback that's a junior. I think the CKL has got the making of being a pretty good league, and, of course, you'll get to see a lot of that football in your backyard. Hoisington always consistent in 2A in the Central Kansas League. A lot of really, really good football in Central Kansas this year. A lot of really, really good football across the state of Kansas. I like parity in high school football. It's good to see. It's hard to predict, but makes for a fun outcome.
I got a couple questions for people out here in Western Kansas. Russell, They got the win over Ellsworth 39-7. They're looking for their first winning season in 2003. Do you know anything about Russell?
They have a brand new head coach. I'm actually going to be speaking at Russell next week for the Power of Social Media Tour. Of course, their coach, his first win, he was an all-state player at Junction City for Coach Zimmerman. They won 39-7 against Ellis. Now, they'll be tested this week against Plainville. Plainville is a team that lost last week to Norton, but MCL, if you know anything about that, that's a pretty good league. And we can sit here and say, you know, losing record, this, and that. They joined the Mid-Continent League. That's a tough league to go through. I mean, if you can go through that league above 500, it's loaded. You have your Norton, Smith Centers, Thomas More Prep, Russell, Oakley, Ellis, Phillipsburg, and Plainville. And you start to look at all those teams, and even teams that have produced Division I or college or even NFL players across a lot of those schools that are 2A and below. So Russell, long way to go still, but it is a great season opener for them. Should be a highly competitive game this week, and really looking forward for the turnaround. They were 4-5 last year. That was a bit deceiving, though. You look at their 4-5 record, 2 out of their last 3 games they lost last year were by 3 points or less.
Ooh.
So this is a team that is very, very capable. They snuck up on Thomas More Prep in 3 overtimes last year in week number 2. Of course, new coaching staff, but looking to build upon that from a year ago. So don't count out Russell for a winning season this year. Still a long way to go, but a lot better than a lot of those, 1-8 seasons that we saw. It seems like since the time I started sports in Kansas, a lot of 3-6, 1-8 type of ball clubs at Russell. So hopefully they've improved. We'll see where they're at. And of course, coming over from the North Central Activities Association, that league is going to be pretty good as well. Whenever you start to look at it, even though they're in the Mid-Continent now, Ellsworth came out of nowhere to beat Beloit last week.
Okay, Chet. You're stealing my thunder, Chet. That was my next question. I was going to talk about, we're talking with Chet Kuplan from Sports in Kansas, and Ellsworth defeated Beloit by a score of 14-6. I've heard some rumors around here that they think Ellsworth's going to be pretty good, and Beloit lost in the state championship game last year?
Yes, and Beloit returns the Sports in Kansas 2A Defensive Player of the Year. And Grady Seifert. Benson Burr is a little bit hurt right now, their running back. Both teams are under 250 total yards of offense in this. Now, I know their running back's a little banged up. Another player didn't play. Ellsworth, the difference in this game, Ellsworth picked off 3 passes, including a pick 6.
Turnovers.
Beloit 0 completions offensively. So, obviously, that when 3 of them are interceptions, they got to get that adjusted. But if they don't get their run game going, it could make for a long year, but it could make for an improved year on Ellsworth. Shout out to Coach Holmika, and, of course, what they've done there. Not a team that, obviously, I was considering or thinking a lot about in football this year. The only thing we've talked about with Ellsworth is Caden Davis. Of course, the youngster that was with the Denver Broncos for a bit in the preseason, that Butler Community College, Northwest Missouri, all that. This is a team that last year only won 2 football games. So, for them to be in any way, shape, or form with Beloit and beat them, that's a big thing because they lost 38-7 to Beloit, and Beloit returns most of everybody. So, as much as that was a huge upset with Manhattan beating Derby, I think that Ellsworth upset is right there with it.
And so, okay, we're going to wrap it up here, but did I understand you right? Beloit completed no passes, but threw 3 interceptions.
Yes, they completed no, and they don't throw it a lot,
right? But still,
but one of those obviously a pick 6, and they have a 2,000-yard running back and a monster offensive line up front with the kid that's being recruited to FCS Division II and the Seifert kid. And you expect them to run, and this is a team that's gotten better throughout the course of the season the last 2 years. So I'm not counting out Beloit in Class 2A. Obviously, on that West, you got to look at Southeast of Saline, who drops from a 3A to a 2A. They're in that same league with Ellsworth and Beloit, but man, it's going to make for some interesting football because right out of the gate, as we say, there was going to be some surprises across the state that maybe if they met up later on in the season or if they met up 10 times, that's not going to happen any of those other times. But the one time they did meet up, it was all Ellsworth, and don't want to, of course, put down what Ellsworth did and sneaking up on them. Shout out to them. They deserved getting the win, even though a lot of turnovers in that. But step in the right direction for the Ellsworth program that nobody, I can guarantee you, nobody outside of themselves picked Ellsworth to win that game.
Wrapping up with Chet Kuplan with Sports in Kansas. Final thoughts before we head in for week 2?
I'm excited for high school football week 2. Of course, I'll be monitoring all over the state. That's kind of what I do on Friday nights, and used to kind of go to games here and there, but to do my job, I got to make sure that I'm watching every single thing going on across the state of Kansas. There certainly are a lot of good games I have my eyes on, of course, St. Thomas Aquinas and Blue Valley Northwest, 6A versus 4A. It's weird saying Aquinas is in Class 4A. And, of course, you look at, we talked about Beloit. How will they bounce back this week? They play Southeast of Saline, who beat Rock Creek.
Ooh.
Of course, they're in that same league. Southeast of Saline drops from 3A to 2A. They also got to look at St. Mary's, who we talked about beat Rossville. They play Rock Creek this week. Rock Creek, who lost to Southeast of Saline. So it's like we're flip-flopping some of these matchups, but I love to see these powerful matchups right out of the gate. But like I said, we can't get too excited because a team here early on in September, the way they look in November, could be completely different.
Well, Chet, you do bring it, and you do have a lot of enthusiasm for the high school football game, and I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Hey, as always, I appreciate you having me on. Great job there, and, of course, have fun covering football Friday night. We'll catch up next week.
All righty, that's Chet Kuplan from Sports in Kansas, and we'll be right back with more on Sports Day.
When you need to get rid of the pain, you want the best. You need to see Dr. Dan Quillen at Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Dr. Dan is Barton County's only board-certified clinical specialist in orthopedic physical therapy. No matter your age, when it hurts, he will help. Call Dan at 620-282-4825. That's 282-4825. Excellence-driven, unrivaled results. Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Inside the Fieldhouse at 9th and Madison and Great Bend. Hey, you want to hear some good news? Venture Corporation is still hiring for laborers, flaggers, equipment operators, CDL A and B drivers, and mechanics. And if you're ready to make some money, call Leslie at Venture. Thought about getting your CDL? Venture will train the right candidate. Higher starting wages, on-the-job training, excellent benefits, and you get paid for traveling throughout the state. Venture Corporation on South Highway 281 in Great Bend is an equal opportunity employer. Venture Corporation, homegrown, family-owned.
If you know a child aged 5 to 12 who has experienced the death of a parent, grandparent, sibling, or other loved one, Memories Matter Bereavement Camp can help them gain a better understanding of their grief. The program is created and directed by hospice grief counselors. The camp is free of charge and underwritten by the University of Kansas Health System and the Great Bend Rec. For more information or to register, call Home Health and Hospice at 620-792-8171.
Bidding is open now for the Orland Slim Oaks online-only estate sale. Used vehicles and parts, including an 86 Ford F-250 with snowplow, a 77 Pontiac Catalina, plus shop tools, lawn and garden equipment, welders, generators, mowers, snow blowers, and so much more. Bidding is open now until September 9, so don't miss out on the Slim Oaks estate sale, online only at bbauctionks.com. That's bbauctionks.com.
Sports Day presents On the Prowl with Mike Corson, an inside look at all the sports taking place at Great Bend High School.
And welcome back to Sports Day, 1590 KVGB, 95.5 FM. Back with Great Bend High School varsity tennis coach Zach Bartel today. Busy week for you, Zach. Had some action Tuesday at home, and you will be back Saturday at home. Let's talk about those results from Tuesday. Pretty good results.
Yeah, this is we always call it our home meet week. So as long as I can remember, we've had it scheduled for Tuesday varsity, Thursday junior varsity, and Saturday varsity all at home. So kind of hit it all at once. Tuesday we had some good results. Definitely our best showing of the year so far of our limited season. But our team got second. Larned kind of ran away with it. We were able to take them down at number one doubles, and our number one doubles got first, and we got a couple seconds. And it was really good. Really happy with the performance.
And let's talk about number one doubles. That's Samantha Mayers and Taylor Lashley.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of wins last year, but I believe they've already surpassed their win total for the year.
They have, they've come a long way, and I think a lot of it's just experience. And they've got quite a bit of room to grow yet. They're getting better at some various things, and we're still working at some various skills, too. Last year, they won't appreciate me saying this, but they won 3 matches last year. We try not to talk about the record too much, but and this year they have already won, 6. So they've doubled their win total already.
And then at number one singles, Kaylin Wallmeyer, she goes up against a state player that played in doubles last year, makes it to the finals. But that girl from Larned, Abby Holt, looks like she was kind of dominant with a bunch of 3 6-0 wins.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize she had all 6-0 wins, but yeah, she's really solid. And I remember her playing doubles with her sister last year. She's a lefty, which maybe throws some people off a little bit, but she's kind of a backboard. She doesn't miss a lot, doesn't make many mistakes, and kind of outlasts everybody. So.
And then your other big score on the day was at number 2 singles, and she also went 2-1 with a loss to Larned. How about?
Yeah, our 2 singles is Lakin Smith, and she's back after a year off of tennis last year, and she's really doing well. It's taken her a little bit to kind of get back into the tennis competition mode, but she's doing great. She had a couple convincing wins yesterday, and that Larned girl at 2 singles also is a former state qualifier, at least a couple of years, I think, and she took her to a tiebreaker and almost knocked her out. So that was really good performance by Lakin, too.
We're talking to Great Bend High School tennis coach Zach Bartel. So another meet coming up tomorrow. Looks like the weather's supposed to change. What do you know about playing in the rain?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about it. There's a chance of rain. It might hold off till later in the day. It's kind of what we're hoping for. We don't get through all 3 of these meets a lot of times without having to reschedule, but that's always the hope. Should be a little bit cooler regardless. So if we can get a meet in and some cool weather and avoid the rain, that would be ideal.
And what time are you guys starting Saturday?
Saturday starts at 9 o'clock.
And that'll be at Shannon Sharp's Courts at Vets Park in Great Bend.
Yep.
And before we let you go here, Serena Williams it's not every day that tennis makes the national news, but Serena Williams playing in her last match. Who was your favorite player growing up?
That's a good question. When I was a kid, I watched some tennis. I didn't start playing tennis till I got into high school, but I remember watching when I was a kid, and I remember cheering for the Americans for the most part. I have some memory of Jimmy Connor's run in the U.S. Open. I think that was 1991. Everybody got excited about him when he was, close to 40. And I remember cheering for Agassi. I'd say the bald Agassi I cheered for more than the long-haired Agassi. Maybe that was just a time in my life. And Sampras, I like both those guys.
Yeah, and I remember when Pete and Andre went together, and I think it was a best of 5, and I believe all 5 sets went to tie breaks.
Oh, yeah.
And all I could think about was they must have ball boys chasing down the extra balls.
They had some great battles.
Sure did, and it's been a while since we've had an American superstar. I think Andy Roddick might have been the last one.
Yeah, we're putting some hope in Tiafoe here in the U.S. Open, but we'll see how far he gets.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on Tuesday. Sounds like if Larned weren't there, you guys were the dominant team, and we're hoping for you tomorrow. Good luck with tennis and the weather.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
More Sports Day after this.
From the Mayo Money Management Studios, 1590 KVGB, Great Bend, and 95.5 FM K238CK, Hoisington.
This is Barton Community College Athletic Director Trevor Rolfs. The Barton Athletic Department is proud to sponsor Sports Day on KVGB, a show that showcases all of our high school student athletes in central Kansas, some whom will continue their educational and athletic future with us here at Barton. We're excited about the fall sports season that is now underway and invite you to attend a game or a match and experience the rich tradition of Cougar athletics. For complete schedules and results, visit bartonsports.com.
Summer is here and we're bringing the heat. At Next Tech Wireless, you can get an iPhone SE 3rd Gen or the Samsung A53 on us. Or if you're looking for a little more, you can also get up to $529 off any other device, including the Samsung S22 Ultra or the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Come visit us at a location near you or call or text at 877-621-2600 for more information. Next Tech Wireless. We are Kansas.
Did you know the arrow in Amazon's logo represents A to Z? Maybe the My Computer Career logo should represent unemployed to employed. Ryan was out of work when he started classes in March. In September, he started his IT career, working for Amazon, making more money than he ever thought possible. Here's a prime opportunity. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You could start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
After a day off Thursday, the Royals start a weekend series against the Tigers Friday.
And the pitch from the lefty. Fastball swung on, hit the other way. Pretty deep to left center. Green going back, looking up, and it's gone! An opposite field home run for M.J. Melendez. His first since August the 10th.
It's the Royals and Tigers from the K Friday, 6:30 pregame on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Royals Baseball brought to you in part by Bugles-Dye Chiropractic, the Liquor Box in Hoisington, by Next Tech Wireless, and the Great Bend Co-op Bulk Fuel Department.
He watched when Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics and was a pen pal of Babe Ruth. Yeah, he's seen it all and done it all. And he's on Sports Day right now. Sports historian for the Golden Belt, Buddy Tabler.
And welcome back to Sports Day. I'm Mike Hesher as we come to you on this wonderful Friday afternoon. It is week 2 of the high school football season, and it's our privilege to bring back in Buddy Tabler. Buddy was on Sports Day for several years and then kind of disappeared. But, Buddy, welcome back, and how are things going for you?
Mike, thank you. Good morning. It's a great weekend for second week of high school football, and kind of looking forward to a game this evening, Larned hosting the Lions.
First of all, we'll take a look back at last week, and I know it's a tough one to look back at, but Larned was handled easily by Pratt 67-0. Was Pratt that good, or Larned just struggled?
You know, a lot of times, Mike, when you get beat that bad, the tendency is for fans and coaches to say, well, we just didn't play very well, and da-da-da-da-da. But let me say this. Pratt is that good. They are outstanding. I don't think they'll lose a game until maybe in the playoffs. Larned, we're not that bad. We should have a pretty decent season, but they're just that much better than we were last week. I think we can improve and get better, and the Indians have got to do that tonight against the Lions. And that's kind of an interesting game. If you're not familiar with all this, the Lions head coach is Carl Nolan, who was Larned middle school football coach for a number of years. So he's kind of coming home for the first time. This is his second year at Lions, and actually had a good season last year. He turned them around. They were winless the year before. They got 3 wins last year. So it's a big improvement, and they're looking to kind of continue that. So this will be a real rivalry game.
So what's it going to take for Larned to get the W tonight? What are they going to have to do?
Run the football. And I think the coaches are talking about that. That was the one thing that the Indians had some success against the Greenbacks last week, but we for whatever reason, we got behind, and I think the coaching staff thought we got to throw the ball some more to try to play catch-up, and it played right into their hands because we had some short time of possessions. We had a couple of possessions that didn't even last a minute. We threw the ball 2 or 3 times and played right into their hands because we turned it back over to an offense that we were having trouble stopping. And then they intercepted 2 passes for touchdowns and ran a punt back for a touchdown. So things just kind of snowballed from a very good Pratt team against Larned.
Okay, as the Larned takes on Lions tonight, you said Lions has been improving with an old Larned coach. It should be an interesting game tonight.
I think so, and I think it's a game that most fans think that Larned will win, but when you got beat 67-0 the week before, I don't think overconfidence is going to be a problem.
I wouldn't think so, no. Okay, let's move on a little bit. I know, are you still the avid KU fan and happy with the victory last week for the Jayhawks in football?
Yeah, well, let me clarify just a little bit. I'm a fan of Kansas colleges.
Okay, okay, my bad. I am sorry. You're correct.
I'm a KU fan, but I'm a K-State fan. I'm a Fort Hays fan, even though the Tigers lost last night for the second time this season. They're kind of struggling, but I'm impressed with what Lance Leifels is doing at KU because he's got a few more bullets to play with this year than he's had last year. So he's increasing the talent level there.
Okay, I know you're a fan of all things. So K-State's victory last week. What Missouri K-State tomorrow? What does that mean to you? I mean, to me, I'm excited about that game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, this is a semi-big-time football game. I mean, this is Southeast Conference versus the Big 12, two old Big 12 rivals, Missouri and K-State. So I think the emotion level will be high, and I think most K-State fans are saying we're going to win this game. We got more talent, but I'm not convinced of that. I think the Tigers, it's going to be a tough task for K-State.
There was some question around the station. Mike Corson, who's now one of our news people, he was saying, Missouri is SEC. We'll see how tough they really are, and if that league's that much better than the Big 12.
Yeah, and probably, no two games you can do that. I think a better choice of a game to decide that is going to be Alabama at Texas.
You are correct,
now,
yes.
That'll tell us a whole lot more about conference superiority. Like if Texas were to upset Alabama, which I don't think will probably happen, but Missouri and Kansas State, I don't think they're unlike. It doesn't mean they run the same plays or anything like that, but I think talent level is close to the same.
I would say if Texas keeps it close against Alabama, that would be a good thing for the Big 12.
Yeah, you're right. If that's a game, and being in Austin, I mean they've got a lot of their own cards on the table, so that's going to be a pretty interesting game, as well as KU. That's what started this conversation. Is Kansas at West Virginia?
Oh, that's right.
If that game were in Lawrence, I'd be picking KU to win it, but I don't know down there. I'm just. I'll bet you one thing. I'll bet you do not see Kansas getting blown out of games this year like they have for the last 3 or 4 years.
Buddy Tabler's with us on Sports Day, and Buddy, I would agree with you on that one. That's pretty much all the time we have for today. I do appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully during the football season we can make this a weekly visit. We'll have to touch base on you with that one, all righty?
Well, call me anytime, Mike.
Okay, that's Buddy Tabler. I appreciate the time.
Oh, you bet. Bye.
This is Sports Day, and you're listening to 1590 KVGB AM and 95.5 FM.
If you need physical therapy, consider Advanced Therapy in Great Bend and Progressive Therapy in Larned and Hayes.
We had a lady that was having some severe back and hip pain, and we worked with her for about 6 to 7 weeks, and we were able to actually restore greater than 80% of her mobility, and we were able to keep her from actually needing that surgery for about 4 years.
You don't need to hurt. Physical therapy can help. Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
It's bedtime at the home of SiriusXM. But Conan O'Brien is still awake.
Turns out you don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen to the app anywhere. In your room, by the pool, at the
And Brad Paisley just really needs his beauty sleep.
Conan, I just really need my beauty sleep.
Maybe really expensive boat, like a yacht.
The waves could rock you gently to sleep.
Don't encourage him, guy.
Oh, sorry. Night-night. Everything you want to hear lives here on SiriusXM. Get the SiriusXM app now.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at how much you've saved, how much you'll need, and help you build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan at any time. Talk to us today so we can help you go from saving to living. Fidelity Brokerage Services, member NYSE, SIPC.
And welcome back to Sports Day on your Friday afternoon. It is the second week of the high school football season. Along with Mike Corson, I'm Mike Hesher. Webby has the afternoon off, so we're bringing you Sports Day this afternoon. Special thanks to Chet Kuplan for joining us, the tennis coach at Great Bend High School, as well as Buddy Tabler, as we talk a lot of football. And Mike Corson, you have some multipliers that this Kansas State High School Activities Association is looking at, but also it has to go through the legislatures, correct?
We're not quite there. So just kind of talking to a State Board of Education member, next Wednesday, the State Board of Education will vote on it. If it gets 6 votes there, then it goes to the state legislature. But he says they might not even vote on it because they might kick it back and ask that wealthy schools are added. So basically what you had was in the spring, the CASA, the governing board for athletics, comes out and says, if you win so many titles, we're going to multiply your enrollment by 0.15. And if you win even more titles, we're going to multiply it by 0.3.
So you have to actually win titles to have the multiplier in effect.
Yes.
Okay, all right. But you were also telling me that one cross-country school back east has won like 8 straight national title or state titles?
Yeah, so in 5A, the Aquinas boys have won the last 8. And since 2004, only Emporia is the only public school to win a 5A boys title since 2004. And then, so football this year, just this year alone, 2 of the top 5 in Class 5A preseason were private schools. 3 teams in 4A, the top 3 are private schools. They've got St. Mary's Colgan picked to win 1A. That's a private school. 4 of the 6 boys cross-country title winners last year were private schools. And girls tennis is going on right now. Wichita Collegiate has won 13 straight titles.
Oh, man.
And then you get into some of the other sports, like Sacred Hearts won 7 straight 2A boys golf titles. Bishop Miege girls have won 22 basketball titles in 46 years.
Wow.
Bishop Carroll girls have won 8 softball titles since 2001. So it is an issue, but I was just kind of chatting with this board member real quick here, and he says the board might kick it back to Keisha, asking that they put in the wealthy schools. And when you think about that, when's the last time a school from a low poverty or poverty?
How do you define wealthy, though? That would be my question.
It would be, and so I just threw out something like Scott City. It's a Western Kansas.
Right.
It's not Johnson County, and he's overwhelmingly it is. It's the schools. It's your Hanovers. Look at Mill Valley in Class 5A. Their boys and girls track football team is outstanding.
I'm going to bag on Hanover a little bit. I went out to the 1A state title game with Hanover playing in the boys contest, and some of their fans were, I will use the word, they felt like they were entitled. And I give all the credit to Greeley County. Greeley County had just a bunch of young freshmen, if not mistaken. They looked like boys against boys against men, and Greeley County beat them. It was great.
And I was out there covering that, and Hanover looked untouchable.
They did.
And then the little Greeley County, I think he was a sophomore, maybe even a freshman, hits the three-pointer at the buzzer. Outstanding. That would be a school that I would guess from the middle of nowhere, kind of out in western Kansas, that they would be something Keisha could throw back and say, no, if with the right competition, these western Kansas schools can compete.
They can compete, yeah. Well, as I say, the Hanover fans felt entitled, and they weren't happy.
Well, I get to deal with them every year, usually in basketball and football.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at the schedule for high school football around the area today. In the Western Athletic Conference, as we've talked about, Hayes High will take on Great Bend. That game is at Memorial Stadium. Patrick Burnett and Jason Perry will have the call on 104.3 The Point. That kickoff is 7 o'clock. Pregame starts at 6:30. Other action in the WAC. Dodge City is at Junction City. Garden City is at Wichita North. And Liberal is at Emporia. And those are all 0-1s against 1-0. So that ought to be interesting. Central Kansas League. Hoisington will be on KHOK 100.7 Eagle Country as they take on Halstead. Cardinals under Zach Baird 0-1, and Halstead is 1-0. A pair of 0-1 teams will be taking place in Larned as Lions takes on Larned. That will be in Larned. That will be on 106.9 The Hits. Other action. This could be a good one to keep an eye on after Pratt did what they did to Larned. It's Heston who beat Hoisington, and they will take on Pratt. So both of those teams are 1-0. That might be a game to watch in the CKL.
Heston's generally tough. I got to work with Coach Bowerly when he was the softball coach in Sterling, and he is an aggressive fella. Like to think he'll have him in shape. And they got a really good quarterbacks, but we'll just see how good Pratt is.
Well, you heard Buddy Tabler. He said they are legitimate. Other action in the CKL, Smoky Valley is at Haven, and Hillsboro travels to Nickerson. Other 11-man games in the area. Douglas and Ellenwood battle in Ellenwood. Both those teams are 1-0. And a nice conversation with the coach of the Ellenwood Eagles, Brent Stint. I'm kind of rooting for the Eagles now.
Well, speaking of, how about those Lady Eagles, number 3 in Class 2A volleyball, 4-1 to open the season. They played a tough Beloit team. Smith Center's #1, but they lost some kids, so I'm kind of thinking that's a tradition thing. We'll see if they can stay up there, if Ellenwood can get up there.
I love the way you segue, man. That's good. Okay, Plainville is at Russell. The Broncos are 1-0. They take on Plainville. It'll be a test for them because Plainville is usually pretty good. Ellsworth travels to Republic County. We talked with Chet Kuplan about Ellsworth as they defeated Beloit, who finished second in the state last year. Ellis will be at TMP Marion, and Sterling will take on Marion. 8-man games in the area. Maxville and Central Plains battle in Claflin. Kinsley takes on Otis Bison. Nest City will be at St. John. La Crosse and Victoria. I know he talked to the head coach of La Crosse yesterday. That ought to be a good contest. La Crosse taking on Victoria.
Probably one of the better 8-mans if La Crosse can stay in there. I believe Victoria is pretty stout, and I haven't seen much on La Crosse, but if they're as tough as La Crosse usually is, that will be one of the better 8-man games.
And one other 8-man game to look at, we got Meade traveling to take on Hodgman County. And then a 6-man game. Have you seen a 6-man game yet?
I covered the unsanctioned state championship 2 years ago. A lot of running.
Keep you busy. But they still play on an 8-man size field, correct?
I think it is modified, and there's rules with going out of bounds and what the quarterback can do before he throws it. It's usually pretty high-scoring affair.
Okay. And then we got to tell you also that train for a new career at Barton Community College in areas like carpentry, network security, or a pharmacy tech. Learn more at gobarton.com, as Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Let's see. We talked a little bit about the Big 12. We talked about Missouri and Kansas State tomorrow. That's an 11 o'clock kickoff. It is on nationally televised on ESPN2. You have any favorites on that one?
I'm going K-State.
You're going Wildcats. Okay. And then West Virginia, we talked about that. That's on 106.9 The Hits, as West Virginia will host KU. And let's see. We also have – go ahead.
What are those donkeys doing this weekend?
Would you be referring to the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, big matchup.
With that Russell Wilson, that ought to be good. As I would, like I said a couple weeks ago, I would have loved to see Drew Lock win that starting job in Seattle and have to face the Broncos in Game 1. But it didn't happen.
The money men have the Broncos favored by a touchdown.
Do they really?
And a lot of people have them picked to go quite a ways, so I haven't been impressed with Seattle in years or Pete Carroll, so go Broncos.
It will be interesting to see what happens. Okay, we all made our picks, and I know the picks are on the other side of the wall over there. I downgraded mine 1 for the Chiefs. I went from 11-6 to 10-7, and I got roundly ripped for being negative. I was like, okay. I just think the Chiefs have so many new people that it may take them a little while to get cohesiveness. I think in the end they'll be, legitimate. I just think they're going to struggle early on.
I think Josh Allen really scared you last night.
Okay.
But in reality,
I don't have the bromance with Josh Allen that you do.
We are all super close, and I forget which team it was last year that played several games in a row that came down basically to the last possession. Was it the Chiefs? And so that tells you, especially if it's more competitive this year, it could be 10-7, it could be 13-4, and it's all.
I agree.
Really a coin flip.
And I will even go lower. See if there's anybody out there. I'll have to disguise my car going home tonight. I could see the Chiefs being 7-10 with that schedule they have, and they got so many new faces on offense and defense. I think it's just going to be a struggle for them.
My friend Dan Patrick always says there's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
But given their quarterback and their success in the past, I think a losing record would be a stretch, but anything's possible.
Well, and I did have somebody tell me, they do have Patrick Mahomes, right? I guess that was Cole downstairs, wasn't it? We were in the molehill, where Mike and I reside, along with Cole Rife, and the Shannon's down there too, but she's not there very often. So other picks, we had Cole was 12-5, right? Webby was 13-4. You were 11-6, and I was 10-7.
We've got a nice cover there if we need to incentivize it at all.
Yes, we do. We're not getting any other support from the people, so we're just about out of time here as we finish up a Sports Day. We thank you for joining us. Hopefully it'll be up on GreatBendPost.com. I know we've had some trouble with Great Bend Post in the past couple of days, but I think we have everything recorded. We'll have to wait for our video personnel to put it all together, but he has the ability to do that.
We're building those followers on YouTube.
Yeah, with your family. I mean, they're very supportive. We appreciate your family for doing that, as looks like we have just about 1 minute to go in the show.
Well, let's talk about that other big NFL game.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Yeah, go ahead. Take it away.
Baker's going to be carrying his Cleveland flag, and he's going to stamp it right in the middle.
Where did you become a fan of Baker Mayfield?
I like your non-typical athletes. Your Minshew, that was playing for Mike Leach.
Okay.
So Baker was kind of one of those kids, couldn't get a scholarship, walks on at Oklahoma, wins the Heisman, kind of has that chip on his shoulder. And then the way the Browns did him, I'm all on board.
While I was residing in Colorado, there was I met a gentleman who was from Cleveland, huge Baker Mayfield fan. Boy, they were going to go to the Super Bowl, and I need to reach out to him to see how he feels with him no longer there. We got about 10 seconds.
And what do you think he had to say goodbye when all those Progressive commercials to his neighbor Alice Cooper at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That had to be tough.
You're listening to Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.